Okay. So welcome, Vanessa. I'm so glad that you could join us on dating and relationships and disability. And even though I just told everyone about you, I always like to begin by having my guests introducing themselves in their own words.
Thank you so much for having me, Kathy. It is a honor to be here with you. My name is Vanessa Cushing. I am an AASECT-certified sex therapist, and I am the owner of Cushing Counseling and Sex Therapy Pro.
Yeah, and tell us in just a little about your personal life, maybe, and how you became a sex therapist. So what interests you?
It's a good question. I'm going to start with how I became a sex therapist, and then I will tell you a little bit about me at the end. I became a sex therapist because I actually started off with sexual trauma therapy. So I wanted to help survivors of rape, incest, childhood sexual abuse, and sexual assault. I had personal experiences with that growing up, so I wanted to be able to help other survivors. So I really became a sexual trauma therapist. And then I learned by doing the work that I actually really enjoyed finding people's sexual voices
Mhm.
and looking at desire and looking at sex as a whole. Sex usually has something to do with, like, if there's a sexual problem, it has to do with something more than just the sex. So it's kind of
Mhm.
like opening up a egg where like the
Mhm.
middle, like there's a lot of things and then you get to the middle and you find the real issue. But personally, I live in Miami. I moved here 5 years ago from Washington, the DC area where I grew up. I have a dog. Her name is Ginger. She is the love and light of my life. She's passed out on the couch right now, or else I can tell her to come join us. I love to run. I run marathons for sexual trauma survivors. That's a really big piece of me. And I just love what I do and I love being able to support clinicians now in my practice. So that's a little bit about me.
It's great to have someone like you on because even though that's a show about dating,
Mhm.
and I'm always very clear that I focus on dating skills and not sexuality, although I'm not opposed to that, I just feel like there's a lot of good information out there on
Mhm.
disability and sexuality,
Not
but
a lot.
not enough on dating.
Yeah.
But obviously, sexuality plays a big role in dating,
Hmm.
which is why I'm so happy to have you here.
Me too.
So let's start with the basics. What does a healthy sexuality actually mean?
That's a great question. And I think healthy sexuality has many parts. I think healthy sexuality is focused in on connection and rather than performance. I think healthy sexuality the center point of healthy sexuality is safety. So someone must feel safe in order to engage sexually. They must feel safe
Mhm.
to say no. If you can't say no, you can't say yes. So it needs to be free of coercion. We also need to be safe from different sorts of threats like unwanted pregnancy, STIs, any sort of diseases that you could contract. So we need safety. And we also need consent. Consent is real. Oh, and we also need to be safe from like coercion or anything like that. So we don't want any power dynamics. We want to be able to say yes freely without feeling like something negative could happen to us in the future.
Mm.
We also want to focus on consent. Like if we want to base it on yes and like an enthusiastic yes. And what do we want? And what does pleasure look like for us? So like knowing what we want, knowing how to ask for it, and knowing that it is safe to say no.
Can you talk a little about emotional safety? Because for people with disabilities who may have bodies that are different and perform differently,
Hmm.
that level of acceptance
Yes.
is really intertwined with feeling safe.
Yes. I mean, I think the best definition of a love that I have is to accept someone as they are without wanting to change it or wanting things to be different.
Mhm.
And I think that goes for our bodies as well. Like we need to be able to love our bodies for how they are, know how they work, and also be able to communicate that with others. Know that, okay, this might feel really good for me, but this doesn't feel really good for me. And it's okay that this doesn't feel really good for me, but I know that this feels good to me and I can communicate that and I can get that. So
Mhm.
it's also knowing what you want and what feels good for you, and but accepting that not everything is going to feel good for you in your body.
Right, right. And sometimes you gotta try things and then feel able to say, oh no.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, this isn't for me. And that's okay. That's okay. Like try different things, try things that feel good for you. And if it doesn't work, that's okay.
okay, okay. So many people with disabilities grow up even today without their sexuality ever being acknowledged,
I know.
let alone affirmed. What does or where does that erasure usually start? And what impact does it have later in life?
Like the when does the erasure of a person who has disabilities, their sexuality, they it goes okay.
Yeah.
I think it's really hard because I think some people become disabled later in life. Some people are born disabled. Like it really depends on the person, but I do think when people see somebody with a disability, they see the disability and they don't see the person. And when you don't see the person, you don't see all the things that a person has within them. They don't see the sexual aspect of them. Like I get the sense that people feel like, oh, I need to be careful with this person when maybe that person doesn't want to be careful with. Maybe they want to be thrown around. Maybe that feels really good for them. And I think allowing individuals with disabilities to have a voice and say, no, I actually really like this and I want to be eroticized. Some people
Mm,
don't want to feel eroticized, which is okay, but like people are sexual beings innately, unless have the identity of asexuality. And disabled people are the same. Like we all have desires, we all have wants and needs, and that doesn't go away because you have a disability.
mm. You mentioned asexuality, and I know, see, I've been in the disability field long enough that I remember a time when we advocated against the perspective that people with disabilities were asexual. But
Mm-mm.
then in the last 10 years, I would say particularly, there's a rise in claiming, no, I am asexual,
Hmm.
not to stereotype, but I have
Hmm.
seen it more with people who are neurodivergent.
Hmm.
Can you talk about what healthy and empowered asexuality means?
Hmm. Healthy and empowered asexuality. It's a good question. I think accepting yourself, if you have never had sexual desire, like asexuality means like you do not feel sexual desire, you could take it or leave it. It's basically ambivalence around sex. And if you have, a lot of people feel a lot of shame and guilt around being asexual. They don't feel like it, like they should be feeling this way, but they're not feeling this way. And it just goes back to acceptance of like, it is okay that I don't feel sexual desire, and you can be in a relationship if you are asexual too. Like you can give a gift to your partner and that be pleasurable for you. It might be like, oh, I watched this movie and I didn't really love it. Like, I don't really need to watch that movie again, but my partner really loves that movie. So I guess we're going to watch it again. Like, I'm going to do that for my partner because my partner really enjoys that. But I think a big myth of people who are asexual is that they cannot have a sexual relationship or a romantic relationship, and that is simply not true. They can.
Right. And I think what we haven't learned is that asexuality is a choice rather than something imposed on people due to ableism, which is the background.
No, I mean, I think that the sexual identity of asexuality and disability are two very different things. Like it should not be imposed because you have a disability, like doesn't mean you are asexual and vice versa.
Right, right. But you know that it's a long time myth
Yes.
that society has
Has just
bought into.
suppressed and yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, that has happened throughout society. But that's the myth I wanted to break. That's
right,
like, I don't want people to think that way. People with disabilities are sexual beings unless they are asexual, just like an individual who doesn't have a disability is a sexual being unless they identify as asexual.
right,
Like the same. It's the
right,
same.
right, right, right. Okay. Um,
Mm,
for someone who has never really been given permission
mm,
to think about themselves as a sexual being,
hmm
where would you advise them to begin, or how would you advise them to begin?
To start allowing yourself to think that way. Some people need to feel permission to feel pleasure, to feel sexual. And I think there has been a lot of suppression of individuals with disabilities in
Mhm.
their sexuality, is just allowing themselves on an individual level, like, I'm going to feel permission to feel sexy today.
Mhm.
I'm going to give myself permission to feel pleasure today, if that's what I want to do. So
Mhm.
just allowing and giving yourself permission is the first step in feeling that way,
Mhm.
becoming free of that.
So I'm the both as a counselor and as a coach in mindset
Hmm
and choosing our thoughts.
Yes, I love it.
What are some thoughts that would help someone affirm their sexuality?
hmm I am a sexual being. I enjoy pleasure. I want pleasure. Pleasure is mine. I can have pleasure when I want to have pleasure from myself. I am deserving of pleasure.
Okay. I'm gonna make a note to let all those out in the show notes.
I love it.
They're good ones. Okay, so I guess switch now to talk about sex therapy.
hmm
And can you define that for people?
For sex therapy is essentially talk therapy that involves talking about sex and healthy sexuality. So we dive into issues like erectile dysfunction, premature ejaculation, delayed ejaculation, low sexual desire is a really big one. And we also do work with couples with desire discrepancy. Desire discrepancy means one member of the couple has higher sexual desire, the other one has lower sexual desire. And then that creates a really negative cycle that will last for a couple of years sometimes. We also deal with pain during sex. We deal with anorgasmia, so individuals who are unable to orgasm. Any types of kinks and fetishes we talk about. There's a lot of shame and guilt around kinks and fetishes, and also just how to live a better and healthy sexual life.
Okay. And are there quote unquote typical situations where someone would come to you
Mhm.
for sex and therapy?
Yeah, there's a lot of different situations. So I would say the biggest situation is that it is whatever is happening in the bedroom is distressing for you. So if you are having distress or you feel anxious, you feel confused, you don't know what to do, you don't know what you want, you don't know how to ask for what you want, those are the things that you come to sex therapy for. It doesn't just
Mm,
have to be erectile dysfunction or things like that. It's like, I feel a lot of anxiety trying to engage with my partner sexually. Okay, like we deal with that and we can help you with that. So any form of distress, really.
mm. And is there, a- as a therapist myself, I know that's a hard question to answer, but is there any type of timeline
Mhm.
for sex and therapy?
It's a good question, and it depends, as you know, it depends on the issue. So, like, erectile dysfunction is a lot easier than people imagine to fix. So, like, that could be like 4 to 6 sessions and you're out of there. But something more entrenched, like a desire discrepancy, can
Mm,
take a lot longer. It can take almost a
mm,
year for some people to get out of that cycle and really start having good sex again. I mean, there have been couples I've seen that have never had good sex. So that does take a little bit longer. Like, I'm good, but I'm not 31 years good within a couple of sessions. Like, if
right.
this is a pattern you've had for 31 years, like, it's going to take some time to break that pattern and learn a new one.
Okay. And you said earlier that you began your career as a trauma informed
Hmm.
therapist. How does trauma, people who've been through trauma, particularly sexual trauma,
Yeah.
which actually happens to quite a bit to people with
Yeah.
disabilities,
Yeah.
how does that factor into sex and therapy?
I mean, it's very difficult when there is trauma that has happened to an individual. I think the biggest piece that people don't recognize is there's a disconnection from oneself and there's a disconnection from others. So, like, you might not want to engage in sex, or you might be hypersexual after sexual trauma has happened. And both of those things are very distressing for individuals. Like, to be hypersexual after a sexual trauma, people are very confused and like, why am I behaving in this way? I also think disconnection from others is a big one too. So like not going towards connection, avoiding connection, and that can impact many different things in dating and relationships and all of the other things. Also, in sex, there's dissociation. So like not being there like mentally and then physically you're there, but being in a different place in your mind and also being triggered by different things that happen sexually. Like if there's something that happened in a sexual trauma and that person that you're now with does it, that person is now very flooded and very active. Like their nervous system is activated, and that's very difficult. So it is
Mhm.
very hard to engage in a healthy sexuality after there has been a sexual trauma, which is where we come in and we process that trauma. We learn a new way of a healthy sexuality.
So my next question will relate to an earlier question, but it's somewhat different. Many, I won't say many, but a good portion of people with disabilities, especially people who were born with disabilities, may not be sexual until well into adulthood,
Mhm. Yeah.
like well into adulthood. And some of them may feel shame about that.
Mhm.
How would you work with someone on that issue?
Well, I think it goes to the beliefs of, okay, like what makes that a negative thing? Like it's neither good nor bad, and there shouldn't be shame. There's many people without disabilities that are also non-sexual well into adulthood. There are many clients that I know that haven't been sexual for many, many years, even though they want to be. And that is okay. And we're not going to allow this piece to bring us down. I think it goes back to the beliefs around self. Like it is okay, but we're here now and this is what I want to do. So we start the work there.
It's telling what you choose to
Yes.
believe.
It's the
Uh,
story you tell yourself.
yes, yes, and like I tell people all the time, you can rewrite a new narrative for
Mhm.
that story.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Um, Hang on 1 minute because you have answered
Mhm.
you have already answered a lot of my questions. Okay, so I'm gonna on that note of we choose what we think about. But let's say some people come into therapy, do the work with you, but then go back home into environments that don't affirm them.
Mhm.
What would you tell them?
I mean, it's really hard. Like it's really hard if you're trying to quit smoking and 10 of your friends smoke, and that's something you do every day after work with your friends, is you just go smoke with your friends. It's going to be very hard to stop that behavior. So we want to look at the context, like people talk about people, places, and things in AA, and those things really do matter. So if you are in an environment that is not propelling you forward and propelling you to the place that you want to be, perhaps it's time to change that environment. Like if you want to stop smoking, you probably shouldn't be with 10 friends that smoke every day because you're going to be the 11th one. Um, sorry.
But what about when they had so little options, like they might be relying on a caregiver
Mm,
who doesn't affirm them, but they need the care.
yeah. I mean, it's a good question. Sometimes it really depends on the situation. Like if you need the care, but it is not affirming, is it true care towards that whole person? It's also knowing like, okay, this person isn't, it's like dating somebody who isn't great for you, but is good to you. Like, do you choose, like, do you decide to stay with that person or do you decide to find another one? Like, is there options? And it really depends on the person. So I would really dive in with that person and try to figure out, okay, like, what is going on? What is not aligning with what we are doing? And what is not aligning with who you are? And what do we really want? What is our priority? And prior means one. So, like, if it is your priority to be affirmed, then that is your priority.
Mhm.
But it depends on the person.
How would you counsel someone on maybe asking or communicating
Oh, yeah.
their need to be affirmed? Like,
That is most of the work, actually. We call it sexual assertiveness, but it's just assertiveness in general. And it's being able to just practice what you need. So like I'll do an exercise called May I Will You, and we will go back and forth in dialogue where I ask, "Will you take my dog for a walk?" Yes. Will you come over for dinner? Um, May I come over to your house for dinner? And practicing the language of asking, because a lot of people don't ask because they're not sure what the answer will be, but we have to have the courage to ask anyway, regardless of what the answer will be. So we ingrain that skill in people.
So, how would a person act to be affirmed in their sexuality by, like, not partners, but by the people who support them
Hmm.
in their daily life?
Just ask, will you support me in my dating? Will you take me to a sex toy shop? Will you help me use this? Will you take me to a store that sells bras and panties for individuals with disabilities and getting those pieces with magnets? I have a friend and she was at my high school and she owns a company that does lingerie for individuals with disabilities and they use magnets. So they're able to pull them off. Like it's
I
amazing.
love it.
I love it. Her name's Emma Butler. She's awesome.
Okay, okay. If you can actually send me your website,
Yeah.
we'll put it in the show notes. And now because you mentioned sex and toys, can you just talk about night, well, sex and toys and adaptive devices? And if someone is like, I don't even know how to begin going about looking into that, what would you advise them to do?
So it depends what they want. Like, what is their goal? If their goal is to have clitoral stimulation, there's many different toys for that. So, like, I would go about talking about it in a more physical way. So, like educating about like sex, okay, like what feels really good for you? Does pleasure on the clitoris feel really good for you? Does vaginal penetration feel really good to you? Does anal penetration feel really good to you? And based on those answers, we can tailor what sex toys they might want to get, and then they can try them. So,
Mhm.
like, for some people with that really enjoy clitoral stimulation, there's a big thing called the magic wand. But for some people, that might not be great because it's direct stimulation to the clitoris, and that doesn't feel that's too overstimulating. So we have to go back and forth and just figure out it's a very individualized approach. There's no one sex toy fits all. Like it really depends on what the person wants and what feels good for them and what feels comfortable for them.
And being willing to
Try.
explore
Yeah.
and try it.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Um, just a couple more questions. What would it look like for our listeners to feel entitled to pleasure, desire, sexuality, and disability? What would all that look like?
It would look like giving yourself permission, saying, I am a sexual person regardless of all these things. Like, I am a sexual person regardless of my disability. I want pleasure. I deserve pleasure, and I'm going to give myself the pleasure that I deserve
Mhm.
and taking it.
Mhm. And how would you advise someone who may not know what pleasure feels like to begin to figure that out?
You know, I love when people talk about pleasure because they're like, oh, I don't know what feels good to me. Well, does eating at this restaurant feel good to you? Like, do you know, like, does holding hands feel good to you? Like, that is all pleasure. Does dancing feel good to you? Like, that is all pleasure. So, just exploring your body and the ways in which it feels pleasure, and then going intimately with it too. Like, explore, like, what feels good, what movements feel good for your body, and explore pleasure that way. I think a lot of things can be pleasurable. It doesn't necessarily just have to be sexual.
Right, right. It can be dancing, moving, it can be
Yes.
so many things.
Exactly.
Yeah. Vanessa, it's been wonderful to talk to you today about this much needed topic in the disability world. if people want to connect with you, how might they go about doing that?
My website is cushingcounseling.com, and I do videos on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, and the URL is just Cushing Counseling. So it's just Cushing Counseling all over. And then if people want free resources, free or lesser cost resources, sextherapypro.ai is designed for low cost therapy. Sex
Okay,
therapy. Yeah.
okay. And it's that part of what you do.
Yes.
Okay,
Yep. I
okay.
designed it because it's basically it's I put my entire brain in an AI. It's a closed AI, so it's private and there's no misinformation. So people can go and ask it questions and really get a lot out of that. So I just
Okay.
made it to for sex therapy to be more accessible for everyone. And for
Oh,
people,
wonderful.
yeah,
That it's great. And anyone can use it. You're not
anyone.
restricted by location.
Nope. Nope.
Okay,
Everyone can use it. That's the beautiful thing about it.
okay, okay. And where are you licensed? In just in Florida or any other?
Yep, we have therapists in Virginia, DC, Maryland, and Florida. So
Okay,
those four states. And my dream one day is to have all 50 states. That would be
okay.
a dream.
Okay, okay. One that is incredible that you offer that and sure
Thank you.
it helps so many people. It has been a pleasure having you on.
Oh, the pleasure
So,
is mine, Kathy.
so thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
So, can you send me an email with the social media handles and your website and also that your friends
Yeah, her
um
startup.
yeah I
Do
would
you want
like to
me to get you
include.
in contact with her? Would that be helpful?
Oh
She would be great to have on the podcast.
yes, I would love
Yeah.
to. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, I'll email her and I'll see if I can get her on.
Okay, and what's your name again?
Her name is Emma, Emma Butler.
Okay,
Yeah, she's
okay.
amazing. She has a startup and she's raised money and like, oh, it's amazing. Like, I'll show you. Her, Emma Butler. Yeah. Her company is Liberare. This is her company. It's amazing. I'm gonna put it
Yeah,
in.
I'll give you permission to share.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I think it would be amazing because it is like it's showing images of women with disabilities and like looking sexy and feeling pleasure.
Yeah, I would so love to interview her. So
I
thank
will absolutely ask. Yeah.
thank you very much
You're very
for
welcome.
sharing her. So okay. So I will be actually turning this around quite quick and I plan to publish it next Tuesday.
Cool. Awesome.
14th.
I
So
look forward to it.
and I'll send you like a soundbite and things.
Cool. Thank you so much. It was awesome to be on, and I'll message Emma and I'll see if she can come on because I think that would be really good for her.
Yeah, I would love to talk to her.
I'll get her in here. And you,
Okay. Oh,
thank you.
and also I meant to ask, how can you find out about my show?
I have a person who does the marketing, like she does
Okay.
pod outreach or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Great. Well, I'm glad we got connected.
it was awesome. Thank you so much, Kathy.
Okay. Take care, Vanessa.
Have a wonderful rest of your day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.